So, I can't say that I really expected this today, but Raven ended up putting out a stealth update for Warzone in which we saw some new changes introduced that could potentially change the meta of Warzone. They're already breaking down every change that was made so that you're aware of the changes that could affect each and every one of your loadouts within Warzone. As we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. Do you like these changes that were made? Do you think that it was enough? Do you think there should be more adjustments made to these weapons? Whatever it is, feel free to let me know your thoughts down below. But hopefully enjoy the video. If you do, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button on the road to 400,000 subscribers and getting pretty close. If you guys want to stay up to date with all things Warzone, Cold War, and anything COD related and join the community, I'd love to have you. And finally, make sure you check out my friends over at Gamer Advantage for the best blue light glasses on the market. Protect your eyes and feel comfortable while doing so. Link in the description below. That said, let's talk about this update and what changed. So to start, this is something that around 11 a.m. Eastern time today, Raven ended up tweeting just out of the blue saying a Warzone update is going live now. Changes to various weapons and attachments. Now, first, this was an update that players, you and I, did not have to download. It was not a title update and it was not something that introduced a new game version. Instead, it was just a hotfix, so it was a playlist refresh in a sense. If you were in the game, you may have been booted to the main menu to refresh the game's data, but if you were not and you're loading it up for the first time after the fact, well, you likely won't have any prompts to do anything. You can just kind of continue with your day as normal. This tweet linked to the patch notes from the past week and the mid-season update notes. Now, when you go on and look at this, if you check the link, it's likely updated now, but earlier on it was an issue that maybe the cache of the page wasn't quite updated, so it literally only showed the changes from the mid-season update on display, but Raven followed up in a tweet in relation to the issues with the changes all listed out here. Now, when you look at these listed and updated changes, there's a combination of two things going on here. One, there are actually some new changes that were never added with a mid-season update that are brand new as of today, but two, there also are some changes that were stealth updates that Raven were seemingly playing catch-up on here, retroactively adding them to the existing patch notes after the fact, maybe brought to them by the attention of those like JGod, Ace, and True Game Data that have done the testing and found these changes for themselves. But some interesting things were on here no less. Firstly, in terms of weapon balancing, these changes were mentioned that there is recoil strength that had been increased for the Cold War Tactical Rifle Charlie, and the ADS speed has been decreased on the FFAR. So that recoil strength, this seems to be compounding a bit on top of what we had with the original update. And bear in mind, it's only going to be in relation to the AUG, which is the Tactical Rifle Charlie. And that's something in and of itself I never understand why they just can't say it outright. Like, you listed every other weapon mentioned in these patch notes by their exact name, so why do this? Modern Warfare did the same thing from time to time as well, and I still never will understand that, but I digress. For the AUG, it has a listed mention that includes burst weapons ride a fine line between inefficient and oppressive. The intent of this change is to maintain the weapon's identity of being a powerhouse while making it a bit more difficult to wield. Right now, we feel it's too easy to stay on target given how lethal it is. We will continue to monitor the performance of the Tactical Rifle Charlie and make additional changes if necessary. Now, right there, I agree with that sentiment wholly. The AUG is meant to be a powerhouse, but right now it's just too easy to use. So in theory, I understand where they want to make this harder to use, similar to maybe how they did with the Odin for Modern Warfare. The Odin had by and far the highest DPS, the most powerful damage dealt per shot, but had a wicked recoil that you had to learn to control. So in theory, this can work, but we'll have to see because the AUG, after the update last week, was still incredibly powerful and a major contender in the meta. If I'm honest with you, I think perhaps the most painful part of the AUG is the TTK. So I think that if we really want to see it, not necessarily gutted, but a weapon that requires accuracy and skill to use as that powerhouse, you'd still need to introduce other counterbalancing factors since recoil is still very easy to counter. Perhaps a burst delay or rate of fire decrease, perhaps a slight damage adjustment so that it requires on all fronts a third burst minimum to kill. I think that the attention to the weapon has the right intentions. I just don't know if it'll be enough to shift the usage. One thing though that I will say that I think has come out of this as well is the fact that it brought attention to the M16 a little bit more. It's a little bit more on par with that AUG now as a result of some of these weapon tunings, and as we mentioned in our top 5 loadouts video, it's pretty solid. It's pretty easy to pick players off with in my opinion. But as for the FFAR, it was mentioned the ADS speed has been decreased. This is now seemingly something across the board for the weapon. Previously, we mentioned this was in relation to the 50-round fast mag adjustment, in which it was now properly able to penalize a player for those added benefits in which you got more ammo per magazine, but also that reload speed, but for absolutely no cons. That was fixed out with the update, but now it seems like across the board, this has been a change made. But additionally, the patch notes listed that the FFAR is a jack-of-all-trades weapon. It has the damage profile and range of an AR, as well as the fire rate of an SMG. The FFAR's wholesale efficacy has it edging out SMGs at ranges we're not satisfied with. Ideally, the FFAR fulfills the role of that mid-range dominator while falling prey to weapons that excel in short-range engagements. We are bringing the FFAR a bit more in line with what you might expect from an AR, damage and range at the cost of handling. So this kind of, with this update now, making this something that is still pretty powerful at mid-range, and if you can control it, absolutely, but they're trying to hinder that close quarters game here with it. This should, in theory, allow more weapons like the MAC-10 or other dominant SMGs to once again regain their prominence, but at the same time, we'll have to see if this is something that actually does hinder the FFAR as that dual rifle ammo combo. That's something we just don't know of just yet. Now, outside of that, they did mention that there were also attachments in specific that were adjusted both new and old here with this. The first thing they start out by saying is that rear grip attachments now properly increase the ADS speed. That I think is going to require some more testing here because we did talk about how at least two of those items were adjusted and actually properly function now, that being the speed tape and the serpent wraps, that first and then second to last grip for your weapon attachments. But if they now all properly function, that's a huge change here, and that's something that definitely makes these at least worth considering in builds, whereas they were not previously. Another change that was mentioned here in terms of attachments was that of the 16.5-inch mil-spec barrel for the Groza, which was kind of busted. It ended up bypassing the damage fall off, so now with this fixed, it now brings that attachment and the rest of the Groza now in line with where it should be. It also mentioned that there was a bug fix for the Ember sighting point on the XM4 and the AK-47 that had ADS speed increases rather than decreasing it, and they also mentioned that it fixed the bug for the Salvo Fast Mag where the FFAR and M16 were not having the ADS speed decrease. Again, coming back to that, we already mentioned it, we already knew of that one, and the Pellington 703 wrap suppressor effects now are properly represented on the stat bar. So those were adjusted, compounding on some of the attachment and weapon tuning that we saw as of last week with the mid-season update. So definitely nice, but I think, again, a big surprise here that we saw just on a Tuesday. These weapon adjustments just dropped out of the blue here with no prior knowledge to them. So that might be something that shakes up some of your gameplay a little bit. This is something that will definitely take out the FFAR and the AUG as the main meta weapons. Not quite just yet. Now, on top of that, though, on top of this surprise update for Warzone, we also saw on the Modern Warfare side of things a surprise update as well, in which, out of nowhere, once again, something was introduced here, kind of similar to how it happened with the mid-season update. The Tracer Pack Crimson Ronin Operator and Weapon Bundle dropped out of nowhere in the shop today, or at least for some people. I know that I've seen it actually from people's games and screenshots directly from it, but I myself don't have it. You may be one way or the other. It was incredibly curious that we saw 3 maps drop out of nowhere with the mid-season update for Season 2 last week, but now seeing this again, it's also kind of strange. But this comes along with the Zen Ronin skin, the mission to unlock the phases of this skin, the Divine Spirit Ram 7, the State of War 1911, the Immortal Slash Dual Kodachis, the Warrior Epic Sticker, the Ronin Charm, the Crimson Dragon Calling Card, the Dragon Seal Emblem, and the Sabaki Spray. This all coming along for 2,400 COD points, and finally being available to those players that had seen this in the game files data mined for months now at this point. So definitely a curious drop point for this if you ask me. Now, if you'd like to support the channel a little further like Jose, like Tony, James, and EVCZ have, you can use code Espresso in the in-game shop if you do decide to pick this up. It's entirely optional, but does help out the channel, so if you guys do end up doing so, tweet me a picture. I'd love to shout out some of your generous support, but that seems to be available within Modern Warfare and Warzone today as well. But as for what that means with the future, that's 2 now drops within a week that we've seen that are just random drops of content that was unreleased from Modern Warfare. So very curious here, and I'm curious to see what happens in the future, but that concludes what has changed here with today's update. So that said, that's where we're going to wrap it up. I would love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of this here? Are you guys looking forward to any of these changes? Do you think they're enough? Do you think there should be more made? What do you think of the surprise drop of the Ronin Operator skin? Whatever it is, feel free to let me know your thoughts down below. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so I'm a single thing writing all things Warzone, Cold War, and anything COD related. We'll keep you up to date with absolutely everything you need to know. As well, if you guys want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Practically live on both those. So if you guys want to check my conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.